What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTB Ravens Media, bringing you Ravens content every single day. If you want to see that daily Ravens content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. Now, let me know down in the comments how your March Madness brackets are doing. Right now, it's Sunday, and a lot of people's brackets are busted with Illinois and all those teams going down. But, looking at what we're going to talk about in this video, a lot of Ravens fans, obviously, they wanted Kenny Golladay. Golladay went over to the New York Giants. And so people have been talking about different wide receivers that the Ravens should go after. The biggest name that I've seen is Sammy Watkins. So I will obviously talk about Sammy Watkins, but I'll talk about two other guys, Antonio Brown and TY Hilton, kind of the pros and the cons of what bringing them in would be able to do for the Ravens and how much they would cost. I'll say this before I start. These opinions are my own. They do not reflect those of all Ravens fans. So if you have a different opinion, I'd love to hear it. Let me know down in the comments. But looking at what Sammy Watkins brings to the Ravens, 6'1", he runs a 4.4 40-yard dash. He's only 27 years old. So obviously he's got the size, he's got the speed, and he's won a Super Bowl before. I mean, that's something that's very valuable to this Ravens offense. They are very, very young, especially at all the skill positions. All their old guys are on the offensive line, so they don't really go out there and catch a ton of passes. So having a guy in that wide receiver group with those skill position players that is able to talk to them and give them his advice on, what the Chiefs did. And that's something that's very valuable. Obviously, the Ravens need size. You look at their wide receivers, Hollywood, Duvernay, Prochet, they're not massive wide receivers. Now, yeah, you could say Miles Boykin, but screw Miles Boykin, okay? That dude does not play like he's big. Okay, he plays small. He doesn't have that mindset of going up for the football and playing big and physical. He doesn't have that. So I don't consider him a big wide receiver really whatsoever because he doesn't play like it. And that's something that really matters. Sammy Watkins, he does play big. He's able to go up. He's able to get some big balls. That was weird. But, you look at what he's done recently, most particularly in Kansas City. He's never had over 3 touchdowns with Kansas City. His high in yards was 673 yards. But that, keep in mind, he's not the number one in Kansas City. This is not to knock him by saying these stats. He was behind Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill. They use Mecole Hardman a lot. Anthony Sherman gets goal line catches and things like that. So it's not like he was some primary guy. It was a very solid role piece for them. But if he came to Baltimore, he would definitely increase the touchdowns as long as he's able to stay healthy. But you look at what his best year was. It was in 2015. He had 1,000 yards, 9 touchdowns, 17 yards per reception. All of those are great things that you could bring to the Ravens. 1,000-yard receiver, guy that gets touchdowns, and somebody that catches the ball down the field. That's great. In that season, the big correlation is that season was under Greg Roman. So a lot of Ravens fans have been bringing up how, he's been struggling. But if you bring him to an offensive coordinator that struggles to get the passing game, find the one receiver he's had success with, and that was Sammy Watkins. So that could be something that the Ravens could look at to potentially bring in that connection. And the biggest knock on Sammy Watkins is definitely availability. As the saying goes, availability is the best ability. And Sammy Watkins hasn't played a full season since his rookie season. Now he has played a couple of, high game seasons, missed 1 or 2 games, but, having somebody that gets injured, on and off relatively frequently is not super desirable. But those are kind of the pros and cons. His market value per Spot Trek is at about $10.6 million, which I believe the Ravens would be able to afford. And so he's a little bit pricey, but he's very talented, and he would be definitely a decent addition for the Ravens. So that's Sammy Watkins. Now here's Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown, 5'10", 32 years old. He doesn't have that size I was talking about, but when you're getting Antonio Brown, you're getting one of the most talented wide receivers to ever play the game of football. He's got great hands. He's a great route runner. And overall, he's just a great wide receiver. Can go deep, can go underneath, make people miss after the catch. Absolutely dominant. You look at what he did last year, kind of his first full season, even though it was a half season. He played 8 games. He just didn't go insane in those 8 games. He had 483 yards and 4 touchdowns. So you kind of double that. That's 900 yards and 8 touchdowns if he was to play, 16 games in an offense where there's a ton of weapons. It's not like he was the sole guy. No, they got Mike Evans in that red zone. They got Chris Godwin. They got Leonard Fournette. They got Ronald Jones. So that's something where it's okay, he wasn't the main guy, but he was still putting up decent numbers. In the playoffs, he scored 2 touchdowns. Most notably, he scored 1 in the Super Bowl. The cons of Antonio Brown is that he's absolutely mental. Being able to help him not obliterate the entire team chemistry is something that would be a challenge, and something that the Ravens would have to really consider if they would do it. And they've had opportunities, they haven't gone after him. The benefit that the Ravens fans and myself bring up, I wanted Antonio Brown last year, was that the Ravens do have Hollywood Brown. They have his cousin who he likes. Antonio Brown's worked out with Lamar. He likes Lamar. So that's the type of thing that the Ravens could have. He would definitely be cheaper just because most teams aren't willing to take that risk on Antonio Brown. So it'd be a bit cheaper, but you do have that risk of, does he destroy that team chemistry? The Ravens have a very strict mentality. So are they willing to take that risk? I don't know. Let me know down in the comments if you're willing to take that risk with Antonio Brown. And the final wide receiver to talk about, TY Hilton. Now, TY Hilton, 5'10", 31 years old. So another guy, not a big body, not a lot of big bodies left for the Ravens to go after in free agency, trade market. I'll talk about definitely in a later video, but he's a veteran wide receiver. He's got very good skills. The main issue with TY is his health. Now, if you look at kind of his game history, it's like, oh, he plays in most games. Yeah, that's true. But he's like always injured in those games. It's like, oh, I'm playing on a bad ankle, I'm playing on a bad foot, I'm playing, my hands hurt. Like things like that where it's like he's playing. Yes, it's good. He's able to be on the field, but you can visibly tell that he is not 100% a lot of the times when he's playing. He plays hurt all the time, and I love that mentality. If he's available, he's going to get out on that field, but he's just not 100%. So like 100% T.Y. Hilton is an absolute beast, but like you don't get that T.Y. every week. You get like a lot of times you just get, banged up T.Y., which is still a decent wide receiver, but it's a bit risky. The other thing is that most of his success, his Pro Bowls and all those things, almost all of them came with Andrew Luck. And that makes sense. Andrew Luck was an absolute monster. He may be my favorite quarterback ever, but I am also a Stanford football fan, so that definitely has something to do with it. So him having that connection with that Andrew Luck, so that's like, okay, when he's playing with a really top tier talented quarterback, he played very well. Or it could be like, yeah, he was younger, and that was before he got a lot of injuries. So there's kind of two ways you can look at it. You look at his recent stats from last year. He had 760 yards and 5 touchdowns. Pretty solid season. I think, if the Ravens signed him and he did that, that would be really, really good, because you pair that with Hollywood Brown's, 800 yards and 8 touchdowns. That's 1,500 yards for the wide receiver core with just 2 guys, and that's a massive improvement because the Ravens don't throw to wide receivers. So him coming to the Ravens, his estimated market value is at about $10 million. So he's very similarly priced to Sammy Watkins. And in my personal opinion, if the Ravens were to sign any of these guys, man, I think people know if you've watched my videos, I'm not a big fan of signing a wide receiver. So I would say if the Ravens signed one of these guys, I'd want it to be Antonio Brown, even though I still don't really want it to happen, just because Antonio Brown would be significantly cheaper and the Ravens could still go after the edge rusher position, whether it be a Jadeveon Clowney or sorry, I'm blanking on the guy's name, Aldon Smith, who was on the Cowboys. One of those guys, I think that would be a better signing, better use of money. But looking at the wide receivers, Sammy Watkins would be out of TY and Sammy Watkins. If the Ravens aren't willing to take that risk, which I don't know if I am. That's why I was so hesitant to say Antonio Brown. I don't think I'm willing to take that risk. But if the Ravens are, I trust that the Ravens have a plan to deal with Antonio Brown. But I would want Sammy Watkins over T.Y. Hilton just because he brings that size. And, you rarely get an injured Sammy Watkins actually playing. Whereas T.Y. Hilton, you get a lot of injured T.Y. Hilton, and it's like, oh, yeah. Whenever you see a guy playing, you expect them to be 100%. A lot of people have said, if I'm out on the field, I'm 100%. And T.Y. Hilton, you expect him to be 100%, and he's not. And so that's something that, I just don't like, having to wonder, is he actually healthy? Because he missed 4 days of practice. He did a walkthrough on Friday, and he's playing on Sunday. Like, is this guy okay? So that's the kind of main concern I have. But let me know down in the comment section down below which of these 3 guys you'd want, or if you don't want any wide receivers like me, who you'd want, how much you pay, what the type of contract would be, and also, the March Madness brackets, how you're doing. If anybody has, well, nobody has a perfect bracket anymore, but if anybody has a pretty good bracket, let me know if you had any of the major upsets going on. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see all of you again tomorrow.